Hello everyone, I'm just going to perch here on the D7 whilst I say welcome back to the workshop. A very warm welcome. And what's it all about today? Well, I'm sitting on the D7, but we're going to be working on the B175 that's next to you, Peter's B175. So we're going to make some progress, get the forks in, get some of the other cycle parts fitted, start making it look like a motorbike again, and hopefully get onto the wheels as well. We've got the brakes to put back together and the bearings to fit. I've got a little odd job to do for my brother as well. I don't know if you watch his channel, but Wilson's Engineering Workshop. He's overhauling rebuilding an old Harrison mill from the 60s. Lovely machine, but just sadly very neglected. But he's doing a complete restoration on that machine. So we've got a piece of that in the workshop, and we're going to do something to it. On behalf of my brother Carl. So yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy the video and get something from it. And as ever, I've said it before, but welcome. Let's get into it and see what we can do. Trying to find the best place for you to see what's going on. As you can see, I've got a fork leg fitted. The old peg leg at the moment, but once we get the other one in, it won't be. I'm trying to get you in the best position to see all this going together, but it's going to be a bit of a compromise, but hopefully, I'm just going to get in the way of the camera. Hopefully, you can see a bit from there. We've kind of got to just get on and see how it works, really. So, one fork leg already in. That's the one with the brake backplate lug on it. Brake backplate goes on the offside. UK obviously, because we drive on the left. On the right hand side, in any case. Here's the other leg. This is the first one that we built. I did that one off camera. This is the first one that we did. I'm just going to put some grease on the spring and making sure that the wiper is fitted, because they've got a tendency to drop out if you don't keep an eye on them. You get it all together with the spring in there, no wiper. You'd have to take it all out again to put it right. So that is in there. And I'm just going to put some grease, as I say, on the spring. So let me just, tell you what, I'll leave you running. This ain't going to take long. We're not going to put a lot of grease on there. So yeah, we'll just work a bit of grease into the inside and the outside of the coils. Watch your fingers, because there's some sharp edges on these. Wear gloves if need be. I've run out of the gloves, so I can't. Well, I haven't fully run out. I've got one glove left. So I don't really want to look like Michael Jackson. So with his, from his videos, with his one glove, you're thinking, what is he talking about? I'm thinking, what is he talking about? Right. I'll do is just really to stop it rusting over. You don't want to put loads on, because all you do then is attract grit and dirt, even though the gaiters are on there. You never know, something might get down. Right, wipe my hands, because they're horrible and greasy now. Right. I'm also going to grease the little stack of washers. You've got two steels with the fibrous rubber washer in between. I'm going to grease those as well. Twofold. Stop the steel washers from corroding, because they're bare metal. And they were pretty rusty when we took them out. They just help to keep some of that at bay for a bit longer. And with the fibrous rubber washer, just a thin smear of grease, just to help it to go up inside the, help it go up the spout, if you like, up the headlamp bracket, because they are a little bit oversized and they kind of pull in tight. So, more grease, but it does a good job, doesn't it? Right. Okay, let's start stacking this up. like it's going to go together. So as I say, we've got the wiper fitted, spring, and we'll pop the gaiter on. Make sure I get it the right way up. That's the top. You've kind of got, where it goes with the headlight bracket, you've got a slot that it fits into. If you look at the gaiter, the end that goes down, the end that goes over the seal holder, the slot is further up than it is in the end that goes over the headlamp bracket. So that's a giveaway. I'm just going to pop that over you. I've seen people hang them off there and just, you know, push everything up through the gaiter, but the spring can bind if you do that and kind of be a bit of a pain. So I don't do that. But you can. Oops. That's the damper rod disappearing down there, the stanchion rather disappearing down the fork leg. We'll deal with that in a minute. So there's the stack of the washers, the 3 washers together, 2 steels, 1 fibrous rubber. Here's a special tool that I made. You need this or something like it. You can buy these, you can buy special tools, but I've got one that I bought that supposedly fits Bantams. Never fitted any Bantam I've ever owned. I think it fits the bigger 4-stroke models. Right, so I'm just going to wind that into there. And this is to pull the stanchion up through the headlamp bracket and the yokes. You'll see in a minute what it does if you don't quite get what I'm saying. Right, that's started in there. So we're going to feed all this. Hang on. Let's just push that down a bit. Right. So we're going to feed all this up through the headlamp bracket. Like that. Need to just undo the pinch bolt. It must be a little bit tight. Let's just undo the pinch bolt a little bit because it doesn't want to readily go through there. And this is the pinch bolt on the lower yoke. 1/2 inch spanner size. It might be that we have to open it and just tease it open a little bit, the clamp. So hopefully that'll wiggle through there. Go on, up you go. Yeah, I think we have to open out the clamp a bit. Right, I'll just switch you off while I lever the clamp open slightly, because you really want the stanchion to slide through there. Stand by. You've probably seen my hands getting in the way because. Right, I've opened that out a little bit with just a pry bar in the slot and just tease it. You don't want to go mad because you don't want to break the yoke. And as you can see, that's gone into there now. It's still a bit tight, but it's going, and we can draw it up with the threaded rod. So what we're trying to do now is get the stanchion as far up in the yoke as we possibly can, because this gap here has to close. The top of the spring needs to be in here, like that. But obviously with the fork at full extension. So that's the next task. I might have to open that out a little bit more. Before I do, I've got this cup. Now this cup came from the aforesaid mentioned bought tool. The only useful bit was the cup. Basically, that's just allowing us to put some pressure on the top yoke and by the use of a nut draw this rod through the whole assembly. I've got a flat washer to go on there to back the nut up. And then really need to get a new threaded rod. It's a bit bent, but it will suffice. So I'm just going to wind that down. Not very exciting, watch me winding this nut down, but part of the process, I assure you. Right. 17mm ratchet ring spanner. Kick the camera, customary. Wouldn't be me if I didn't kick the camera. I'm going to start to draw this thing up. And so the more you can actually manually pull this up and pull this through, the better. Because it'll save a lot of winding. So let me do a bit more of that, and then I'll bring you back. Right, I moved the camera out of the way. I got up on the step, and I just flexed my muscles a bit and pulled this up, and then wound the nut down. And you can see the spring is now pretty much all the way up into the headlamp bracket. So all we need to do now is to wind this up to pull the taper on the end of the stanchion into the top yoke. So not too much further to go. This is where these older British forks differ from the Japanese forks and the Italian forks that I know a lot of people are used to, where you have a pinch bolt on the top yoke as well that clamps the stanchion into the top yoke. These don't. They don't go all the way through. They run into a taper. Which we are now coming into. Okay, that feels pretty much like we're there. So we'll leave that. That's holding it all together. Nothing's going to fall out. The spring is, yep, no play in that at all. We've just got the action of the fork now compressing the spring. Gate is nice and free, not caught on anything. Now we can tighten up the lower pinch bolt. The lower pinch bolt will stop, obviously, the stanchion from falling out. Stands to reason. And then we can remove the tool from the top. And as I've done on this one, just loosely put the top cap in to stop any dirt from going down there. We haven't got any drain bolts, drain plugs in the lowers at the moment, and no oil in the forks. So before we put oil in, I'll need to just, I've got some 2BA cap heads that I use as drain bolts. They're so much better than the hexagon heads that originally fitted. They're easier to manage when you want to change the oil. So I just need to turn them down a little bit because they're a bit too long. I just need to put them in a collet and just part them off. But that's, one more little job that needs to be done. So before we put any oil in, that needs to be done. Otherwise, we'll be lubricating our feet, won't we? So, tighten up the pinch bolt. Really should be tightening the nut, shouldn't I? That's got it started anyway. Here we go. That isn't going anywhere. Now we can take the tool out. There we go. And I just need to grab the cap, which I think is over here in the parts tray. It is. This was the rougher of the two. I'll try and give it a bit more of a clean before turning the bike back over to its owner. Next job is just to fit the fork gaiter, so need to get that on at the bottom. Where's my little screwdriver gone? There it is. Go. There it is. Then you've got to kind of stretch it to get it on at the top. It can be a bit of a job. But you've just got to go at it with determination and pioneering spirit, and you'll get there. There we go. Is that on? Just about, I think. Oh, not quite. Excuse my head. There we go. So that's it. That's our forks fitted. Just need some oil in them. And obviously tighten up the top caps. I'll bring you around the front so you can have a proper look. I'm very impressed with that steering. It is like silk, it really is nice. Considering the amount of time this thing was outside. That all cleaned up very, very well. Right, let me switch off and move the camera. Ooh, hand again, finger. There we go. Excuse the... Oh, incoming. Excuse the glare from the lighting on the forks there. So if I turn the lights off, it might make it better. Or maybe not. Now it's getting glare from the window. But anyway, as you can see, forks are now fitted. So, yeah, another big chunk. Big bit-itis, as we call it in the aircraft world. When you're putting an aircraft back together after a major or something like that, once you start getting the big bits on, it starts looking like an aircraft again. Big bit-itis. Makes you feel better because you come into work and you see, you know, much more of a finished product. So there you go, big bit-itis. And I'll just put the lights back on. You can see over there, I fitted the battery box and the toolbox inners. Well, one side's an air filter inner, the other side is the toolbox inner. They've gone back on with the mudguard bracket at the back. So we're getting there. I'm going to put the main stand on next, I think. I've just received the bolts. Second time lucky. The first ones that came were no good. Threads weren't formed properly. But the supplier was fantastic, quite frankly, and sent me another pair out overnight free of charge. So we've got main stand bolts and nuts. So we can get that fitted. And then once that's done, I think we'll probably start putting the wheel bearings in. Can't fit the wheels at the moment because I haven't got a sprocket because they are out of stock. So just waiting for those to come in. Once we've got a sprocket, we can get it back on its wheels. And then we've got a steering rolling chassis with a main stand that we can stand by, you know, stand on the floor by itself. So that will be, yeah, that will be good. I think that will feel like we've turned a corner. Right, I'll get it on its side and we'll start prepping to fit the main stand. Okay, I've had to put the bike in a rather compromising position on the bench, but managed to get the stand fitted. So these are new pivot bolts, new locking nuts. When I say locking nuts, don't forget that the frame lugs are threaded. 3/8/26, British standard cycle. So top tip is to run a tap through the frame lugs before you put your brand new pivot bolts through, because they will be disgusting. There'll be all kinds of horrible stuff in the threads, corrosion, filth. It's the lowest point on the bike, so you know, like any motorbike, it gets all the punishment. The spring, they're really easy to fit. These springs, basically once you've got it over center, it almost fits itself. I used a piece of twisted locking wire just a length of twisted locking wire, just to keep my fingers out of the way, just to pull the spring into the general direction, and then I just popped it down my finger, and on it goes. So everything's been greased up. To be honest with you, we could have done with a better stand. The bores are a bit oval, but you know, how far do you go before the bike's no longer original? And it won't come down on its own while you're riding. You just got to make sure that, obviously, like any motorbike, the stand is all the way up before you ride away. But yeah, it'll do the job, and it's another original part going back. We did have to weld it there. You probably remember from the last video if you watched. Just a little bit of a crack here, which they often suffer from that. But that's the stand fitted. So get the thing back in a more normal plane and a more normal attitude, and we can start fitting a few more bits before we get around to doing the wheels. I think the brake lever. We fit the brake lever in the spring. Probably leave the brake rod off. Now we'll fit it because it'll be a pain to fit afterwards. Yeah, so we'll just fit the brake rod and cable tie it up so it doesn't dangle around all over the place. But right, I'll switch you off and move everything. Okay, got the bike upright on an even keel once more. And you are now magnetically mounted to the vise. And so hopefully you're looking at footrest hanger, pillion footrest hanger, and bracket on the near side, on the left hand side. The first thing we're going to do is fit the little chain guard extension. We've got a brand new one, because the old one had suffered quite badly from the old corrosion. And this is secured with a single 2BA screw and a nut and spring washer. And have I got a 2BA spanner? No, I haven't. How remiss. How incredibly remiss. I'm just going to squeeze past you. Grab a 2BA British Association. For those of you possibly don't know. That's the right one. That is the right one. A thread, or a thread series that's most often used on small stuff, instruments, carburetors, things like that. Sometimes referred to as instrument thread, actually. But anyway, we have a 2BA spanner. We have our little spring washer and our nut. And you've never, ever witnessed anyone talking as in speaking up a job as much as this. Don't know how much more I can drag out fitting one screw, one nut and one washer. Yeah, I'll give it a go. Right. So that bit goes in there. Like that. And basically there's a little spring, well, not spring, it's kind of like a welded channel inside the chain guard, and as it comes along here it engages with the top of this, and then this piece basically closes the gap that the chain guard doesn't cover between the engine and where the sprocket is. So we'll put that on like that for now. If we need to adjust it later on, we can do. And we're going to do the brake pedal and the spring now. So I need to get some bits together to do that. So, okay, you are magneted onto a V-block on the workbench with the bike on it, looking at the footrest hanger where the brake pedal is going to go. Just move you a bit. Move you a bit so that I can show you the next bit. So here's our brake pedal with the pin already inserted, which has been greased. Nice and free. So here's how the spring goes on. So Inside edge of the brake pedal, here's the spring with the hook facing towards the outside of the brake pedal. Goes over the little boss there, and then it hooks around the upright part of the brake pedal, the lever part. So from the outside, it looks like that. We're seeing this? Let's just check. Yes, we are. So from the outside, it looks like that. On the inside, it looks like that, with the tail of the spring pointing directly upwards towards the hole for the brake rod. So, move you back down so that you're looking at the footrest hanger. Okay, so hopefully you're going to see how this goes on. There's a spring washer and the nut that goes on the back, holds it on. 3/8 whip width is your spanner size. Okay, brake pedal goes underneath the footrest. Sounds obvious, but you know, maybe it isn't, don't know. Right, take the tail end of the spring, the bit that was pointing up towards the lever, and force it downwards towards the rear of the bike, and hook it around this pillar that sticks out of the footrest hanger, and then juggle the pedal inboard. And it's kind of going to be a bit of an angle because the spring's trying to force the thing out of the way. But once we get the nut and washer on, we'll be golden. So put the spring washer on, nut on, get it started. Once it's started, at least you know it's not going to fire off across the workshop and do you an injury or do some damage. Now we've got to get on that and tighten it down. It just draws it all in. You just need to make sure that your spring goes onto the boss on your brake pedal and doesn't get trapped in between. Just a bit of guidance to make sure it's going in the right place, and it is. I'm just going to continue to wind that up. I don't mean wind it up by, you know, telling it horrible things about itself. Right, it's starting to spin now, so we need another spanner on here. Which is, if I remember rightly, about that size. There we go. All starting to true itself up. I'm using the adjustable because I had it to hand. So it's doing all right. Can't get the inside on. Okay, so done. So I'm going to move the camera, put you in a better position. Probably go handheld actually to have a look at what we've actually done. Right, handheld adventure. There's our brake pedal. 13/16 is the spanner size for this, 13/16 AF, and you can see that it's turning perfectly well. There's the little pillar that sticks out from the footrest hanger that you hook the spring under. So you've got the loop of the spring around the front of the upright lever, and then you've got the tail of the spring hooked around that, below that pillar rather. And hardly any play at all, because this bike was, you know, quite low mileage before it was laid up, and bizarrely the moisture never really got inside there. There was a little bit of grease left in there, not a great deal, but yeah, another one of those mystery parts that survived really well. That's our brake pedal, so we just need to fit our brake rod now. I might leave that till later, rather than fit it and split pin it at the moment. But there we go. Get in there, show you the spring. Hopefully you can just see the back of the nut there. So another little piece of the puzzle refitted. And I think that really, for the cycle parts, I'm just going to walk over here a bit, give you a bit more of an overall view. Yeah, I think for the cycle parts, we're kind of done until we get the bearings fitted to the wheels, and we get a sprocket so that we can fit the rear wheel. We might do a wheel in this video, we'll see. See how much time we've got. But now we're going to do a little job for my brother, and I shall show you what that is. Right, so a little job for my brother. So what we're looking at, well, that's a BSA Bantam. We like those. But that's not what we're doing. This is what we're doing. This is a handle off the milling machine that my brother's restoring. And it's an old Harrison turret mill from the 1960s. And if you want to have a look at what he's doing, go along to Wilson's Engineering Workshop on YouTube, and you can have a look and see the progress that he's making. And it was rough when he got it, very rough. But he's completely stripped it down, cleaned it all up, removed all the old paint and all the years of hammer finish paint and all the other stuff that's been put on it over the years, and about 8 tons of old grease and filth. And he's got it looking resplendent. It's going back together at the moment. But this is one of the handles from one of the hand wheels. And as you can see, it's slightly on the wonk. It's a bit misshapen. And, you know, it's probably someone's run into it with something in a former life. I'm not entirely sure. But because he doesn't have a gas kit, he can't get it hot enough to straighten it out. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to tap a block of metal, thread it in, and just get a better grip of it so I don't drop it on the floor. We're going to thread it into a lump of metal out the scrap bin so that it's nice and flush with the face, so that it doesn't move around, because we don't want to do any damage to, you know, any force going through the threads. We don't do any further damage to it. And then we'll get it hot enough, just like we did with the footrests on Peter's Bantam. We will try and get it straight as we can. I think we'll be successful. So that's the next job. So I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up. We're going to do this, and then if we've got time, we'll have a look at doing one of the wheels for the B175, putting the bearings in. But we'll see. So let's get set up and do this little job, and we'll go from there. Right, we're on with that little job for my brother. Got a piece of bar in the chuck of the lathe. You are on the tailstock. Hopefully you're getting a reasonable view. The lighting's a bit terrible. The light's streaming through the window. So I've had to put a hand lamp on the tool post to try and illuminate the chuck. Hopefully that will work. It might be terrible, but you'll let me know, I'm sure. But hopefully you get something from it. So we're going to drill a hole in this piece of bar stock, this piece of aluminium, at 2024, I believe it is. Oh, it's 2025, you're probably thinking, but the material's 2024. It's a piece I've got left over from a job I did many years ago. Long time ago, in fact. Life is accelerating away at a rate of knots. Anyway, stuff like that. So we'll drill a hole in it, then we'll drill it out a bit bigger, then we'll tap it, and then hopefully this will provide us with a little platform to straighten out the milling machine handle. It should be strong enough. I'm not going to go, we're going to warm it up, so we're not going to go that bananas putting force through it. And the thread is 7/16 14, so that's UNF, I think. So we need a really odd size tapping drill, which I don't have. I think it's 27/64 or something like that. I don't have one. Anyway, I've got a 9mm, which is a bit under what we need, because I think it's like 9.1 something and change. Because we're tapping into aluminium, we'll get away with it. So we'll drill a hole, then we'll drill another hole, and then we'll tap it. And hopefully you'll get a good view of that. So let's get on and do it. Gear all in. We're good. Lathe is filthy, like the rest of the workshop. There's only one man that can sort that out, and it's me. So, yeah. See, I haven't had a centre drill in, I'm just going to go straight in. And it should be fine for our purposes. But we've not done any turning on camera for a while, so well, it's not really turning, is it? But we haven't done any lathe work on camera for a while. So why not, eh? Why not? Not using any lubricant. I'd normally use maintenance fluid, the WD-40 type stuff, but be alright. It's just a bit of gash, just to get the job done. We need to go quite deep because the threaded bit on the handle is quite long. Oh, come on. Dropping stuff. I think that'll do. Make sure that's the right drill bit before we smash it through. Double check. I've got the right one. Nope. Didn't look right. That's better. Well, I had a bit of a faff with the microphone, so I think part of that clip when we were at the lathe might be silent. So apologies for that. Until I review it and review the clips, I won't know. But I think it probably went dead halfway through the lathe operation. So that's a bit of a blow, but not to worry. So consequently, because of that, there's no clip of me threading the bit of metal that we were working on, because I had to charge up the microphones, and I just wanted to crack on and get that done. So there's no clip of me threading it, but all it was running a tap down it. So we'll get it warmed up. See if we can't straighten it out. Right. Well, let's wear a face screen, so you might not be able to hear what I'm saying, or then again you might be able to. Right, kill the bottles. Okay. I'll get your handheld in a minute and we'll have a look at it. Bit hard to tell, really. Get some pliers and just twizzle it around a bit. I think it might need a bit more, you know. Let's get it back in the vise properly. I think it needs to come. Oh, get back in. There you go. I think it needs to come down in that direction now. So we'll have another little go. I was a bit previous switching off the bottles, wasn't I? But never mind. Get the face shield again. We'll give it another wee tweak. I might as well make a job of it. Well, I wish we had. Doesn't need much. That is it, I think. That's where we're going to leave it. And then once it's cooled down, I'll give it a run on the buffing wheel. And it'll be ready to go back in the post to my brother. Yeah, very happy with that. I think he'll be pleased. Yeah, certainly a lot better than it was. If there's any twist left in that, I can't see it by eye, so I think that'll certainly be good enough. Right. Little job done. Next job then is to fit the wheel bearings. We're going to do one. We're just going to do the front wheel, and we'll get it all built up, put the brake plate in and everything. I've already fitted the shoes. I'll show you that. Let me show you the back plate. There's the back plate with a nice new shoes fitted, sparingly greased on the pivots, and new springs obviously that came with the shoes, and then greased the cam shaft, or the shaft of the cam if you like, refitted the arm, brake arm, so they're ready to go back in. But before we do that, we've got to put the bearings and the spindle in. So that will be, got some bits and pieces together. That will be our next job. Everything's cleaned up, ready to go. Got brand new bearings. Got our spindle all resplendent and clean. So first thing we do is put the brake side bearing in, or the larger of the two bearings. And if you're unsure about anything when you're working on your bike, refer to your manual, like this one. And why do I bring that up? Well, there are those out there that seem to think that if you look in the manual, there's, you know, you're lacking in knowledge, or you don't know what you're doing. A lot of rubbish. Doesn't matter how experienced you are, how long you've been doing a job, you should be looking in your manual, because particularly if it's a current piece of equipment, in my industry for example, if you do a job from memory, you're off the job, you're out the door. If you don't consult what we call the approved data and reference it when you're writing up the work that you've done, you're out the door, because it's a safety thing. Things get updated, things get amended, and people's memories fade. Doesn't matter how big a brain you've got, your memory will fade over time. So, well, that was a bit of a rant, wasn't it? But anyway, don't believe these people that say, oh, you don't know what you're doing if you're looking in the manual. You do know what you're doing. You're refreshing your memory. You're checking for amendments. Although, you know, on a machine that went out of production in 1970, there won't be any amendments, but you get what I'm saying. Right, first thing we're going to do is warm it up a bit, because it makes it so much easier. Put the bearings in. It's nice and warm. So this must be rather boring for you, so I'll bring you back when it's warm. Well, I went to just position the bearing on the top there, and I'd warmed it up enough that it just fell in. So that was a win. Didn't need to tap it, so the bearing is now in there. So the next thing we need to do is put the lock ring in. I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on the threads. It's quite a fine thread on the lock ring. That's what it looks like. It's got 2 holes in it. Left hand thread on the front, normal thread, right hand thread on the rear. Not many left hand threads on a Bantam. This is one of them. The other one is on the sprocket, of course. Still a bit warm, so trying not to burn myself. Yeah. Special tool. Adjustable peg spanner. We'll just wind it down. Oops. There we go. Right, I'm just going to give that a little love tap. That's it in. So next job is to fit the spindle. Now, some of these have a shim on here between the bearing and the shoulder. This one did not. And when you read the manual, it tells you to replace the shim. Make sure you refit the shim. However, they don't all have shims. The real one does on this bike. This one came apart without a shim. And I know these wheels had never been apart. Oh, in demand. I know these wheels had never been apart since the factory. So there was no shim fitted. And everything went together fine. So I'm not going to fit a shim. A, I haven't got one. And B, if they didn't fit one at the factory, there's a reason. They don't, like I say, I've had a few of these apart, but they don't always have a shim. So there you go. How many times can you say the word shim in the same sentence? Quite a lot, I think. So a little bit of grease where it's going to go through the bearing, and then we're just going to get it in there. Just make sure it's home, which it is. Running nice and freely in our bearing. And then I'm going to get some extra blocks of wood so that we can stand this up and do the other side. So bear with me. Okay, we've got the other bearing to do. And I've pre-warmed the housing. So hopefully this will go in reasonably easily. It is doing. Now, the trick here is you've got to put the dust cap in as well. You've got to get the bearing and the dust cap just below the surface of the circlip groove, because the bearing and the dust cap are retained by the circlip. So, just a slightly larger socket than that. 1 second. Right. Will that do it? No, it won't. We have to persevere with this one. I haven't overheated the housing, because the problem is you're heating the housing, but you're also heating up the that's it, that's going. Right, we'll start with the dust cap now. You're heating up the housing, but you're also heating up the spindle. Right, okay. Get it somewhere. We're just about drawing level with the top of the circlip groove. There. Circuit pliers at the ready. bit warm. There we go, that telltale click as it snaps into place. And there we have it. Feels good. So I'll just let that cool down. Then we'll fit the brake plate. And that's going to be us done, I think. Right, last little bit then. I've got it in the vise and the soft jaws just to stop the spindle from turning while we tighten up the nut on the brake plate. And I've just been around the inside of the brake drum with some emery paper just to remove any surface corrosion that may have formed whilst it's been sitting in here, and any bits of powder coat that may have strayed into there during the process. This is acetone. I'm just going to give it a wipe out with some acetone just to make sure that there's no contaminants. Beautiful new brake linings stay beautiful and new, and we don't have any, basically we get maximum effect from our new linings, the best that they can possibly give. So I'm happy that I haven't touched them since they've come out of the box. There's no grease or anything on them, so it's just a matter now of dropping the brake drum into there. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's all good. Put the big nut on. There's no washer, just a nut. 15/16 is your spanner size. And we'll just nip that down. Just turn the wheel a little bit, just to make sure that it's nice and centered. Probably need to nip the vise up a little bit more. It's spinning in the soft jaws. I don't want to grip it in the metal jaws of the vise because it's a real beast, this vise. That'll make a mark on the spindle. But it doesn't have to be ridiculously tight, it just needs to be nipped up. It can't come undone because obviously this is where the fork leg sits, so it'd have to wind itself up against the fork legs. So as long as it's nipped up, it's going nowhere. Get rid of the acetone, because if I don't, I will knock it all over the place. That's just who I am. Big hammers away. That back in the tool tidy. That in the bin. And the job's golden. Check it out the vise now, so you can see it. So there is our completed front wheel. Brake drum spins freely. Brakes lock on when you pull them. Bit of muck got in there. I think it's a bit of that blue paper towel. That's got it. And yeah, bearings feel as brand new bearings should. Absolutely beautiful. So there's our wheel ready to fit to the bike. I'm just checking that you can see. 1 second. Can you see? No, you can't, can you? I was just talking to myself. It's a fool. I do apologise. Let me move you. Oop. That's better, isn't it? Right. Let's go through that again. So, as I say, spins freely, brake locks on. There's not excessive travel in that. That'll be lovely. That, I think that'll be a good brake. Stop on a tanner. That's what it will do. And then, as I say, bearings feel exactly as brand new bearings should. We've got our dust cover in there. We've got our circlip in. We tightened up our left-hand thread retaining nut for the other bearing, lock nut. and we've got our brake back plate locked up, tightened up. So, ready to go. So I'll get that out of the way. I'll move the camera, and I'll close out the video. Let's have a look. Where shall I stand? Stand over there. We'll go back to the window and hopefully it won't be too bright. Okay, right. That's it for this one. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all my subscribers. I say this every video, but I absolutely wholeheartedly mean it. Thanks to all the subscribers, new and old. Those of you who've been with me for a while, those of you who've just come along. You're all equally welcome, and I enjoy, I enjoy the comments. I enjoy the interaction that I have with you. So thank you very much indeed for that. If you're not subscribed, please do. Please hit the like button, and that's us. On the next video, hopefully, well, let's make a pledge. On the next video, we'll get it on its wheels and roll it around and see where we go from there. I've got a load of bits on order. So we can get the wheels on. The sprockets are now back in stock. I said earlier in the video that they were out of stock. They're back in stock, and I've secured one. So we'll get the wheels back in, get it rolling around, get the brakes connected up, and we'll almost have a motorbike again. I've got to dig out the engine plates. I'm not sure if I've got them or if Peter has them. We need the engine plates, so I'll have a hunt through the storage shed and see if I've got them. If not, I'll speak to Peter and get them off of him. The bodywork needs to be done, and by done I mean that stuff. It needs a really good clean, and they're going over with that stuff. The mudguards are quite rusty, so we'll give them a good clean up and do the same thing that we did with the frame, just revitalise them. And the number plate holder, rear light bracket number plate holder combination that they have on these bikes is completely rotten. There's a big chunk missing out of it, so we need to try and secure a reasonably good second-hand one. If we put a new one on, it'll stand out. So we'll try and secure a reasonably good second-hand one. So all that needs to go back on. We'll get the mudguards on. Hopefully, get the engine in, but we'll see. Let's not be too ambitious. Getting the bodywork on and getting it rolling, I think, is the priority for the next video. If we can get the engine in, so much the better. What a win that would be. Anyway, I'm doing it again. I'm going on and on. Thanks very much indeed. Mind how you go, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.